Money FM 89.3. Best of breakfast. Mind your business. Only on Money FM 89.3.
Ahmad Akhtar and Audrey Seek presenting Mind Your Business on Money FM 89.3. Now, the energy sector is undergoing a pretty big transformation. This as the world pivots towards sustainable solutions and cleaner alternatives. Here in Singapore, innovation is not just a buzzword, it's a pretty critical driver of change.
That's right. And Singapore has some serious goals on this front. So despite our limited natural resources, our government has committed to achieving net zero emissions by 2050 and is charging ahead with interim goals like peaking emissions by 2030 and quadrupling solar energy deployment by 2025. Now, this collective whole of nation effort supports our aim to achieve net zero emissions by 2050.
But behind the progress, real-world challenges still persist. Things like land scarcity, which limits large-scale renewables, rising urban energy demand putting pressure on infrastructure, as well as a host of other issues. But with a wealth of experience in energy innovation and sustainable strategy, our next guest can help us explore how her company is navigating this complex landscape, leveraging research and partnerships to turn today's energy challenges into, hopefully, tomorrow's breakthroughs.
Yes, so we're very happy to bring her on. Joining us now is Yee Wah Tang, Managing Director of ENGIE Lab Singapore. Yee Wah, it's so great to have you with us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good morning. Welcome to the show. For a start, paint us a picture of how you would describe the energy landscape we're in today. And for listeners who may not have heard of ENGIE Lab Singapore, how would you explain what you guys do?
Yeah, I think the energy landscape today is one that has changed tremendously compared to 15 years ago when I first joined the industry. Back then, when I was a young engineer, it started with a lot of focus and a lot of services that is targeting energy efficiency services because options were pretty limited at that time. People were looking at ways on how they can reduce or doing the same with less resources. But as options emerged over the last 15 years, I think especially on the front of accessibility to green energies such as solar in Singapore, a lot of the focus or attention has been shifted towards the supply side, looking at how they can tap on greener supply. For example, installing rooftop solar panels on the premises of business or on the buildings which either factories owned or by any other building owners in Singapore. So those are I would say, a shift that I'm seeing from focus on energy efficiency more towards green energy supply. But rather, I would say for us to move forward to this energy transition journey, there needs to be a balance between the two, where we need to reflect on how we are consuming energy as an individual, on our lifestyle, but as well as a business and as a country. On the other hand, to manage the energy security that we would have to make sure that we will always have affordable, reliable, and ideally sustainable energy supply.
So we've seen global energy demand climb, right? Renewables have been gaining momentum and some policy shifts everywhere across the globe. But there are also concerns around energy security and supply. So what do you think are the biggest global challenges facing the energy sector right now?
Here, I come from the research and innovation background. So for me, what I observed is that the challenge with the energy today is no longer about the technology, but rather now on how we could transform the way that we produce and also consume energy to make sure that the energy that we are going to use tomorrow is going to be affordable and reliable and, again, sustainable, ideally. Every geographies, every sectors would have their own set of challenge, but what is common among us is that we are depleting our carbon budget. It's becoming increasingly more challenging for us to meet our climate target. And I think until the day that we can set aside our individuals' interests on economies, on politicals, we will struggle to make significant progress as a global community.
Yeah, we hear a lot about sustainability, but what's in it for regular business owners? How does going green actually save money or improve operations?
If I could take an example on a topic that ENGIE is actively working on in Singapore, on the subject of cooling, I think we know that the climate is going to get warmer and warmer over time. Cooling needs is going to increase tremendously over the next decade or so.
Yeah.
So this is a big topic and a big priority for us in terms of business as well as in terms of research. For example, in Singapore, ENGIE is working on developing. In fact, we have just commissioned the Punggol Digital District Cooling Network, which is a centralized cooling infrastructure that would supply cooling energy to all the tenants that is within the districts. So it consists of, for example, the SIT campus and also offices, retails that exist within the PDD district. So instead of having, cooling plants in each individual buildings, we can save up to 30% of energy consumption.
All right. So ENGIE Lab Singapore has been around since 2016, and you've led some fascinating projects under its banner, like the district cooling that you just described. Can you share a few more innovations from your team that have made a real difference in how cities or communities manage their energy?
Yeah. The setting up of the ENGIE Lab was anchored on the fact that we secured research partnership with NTU as part of a research consortium called the Renewable Energy Integration Demonstration Singapore. So this is a research consortium that is located with physical assets located on Semakau Island, where a plot of the island was dedicated for R&D purposes. With NTU and several other industry partners, we work on research that is addressing the topic of the integration of renewables. How can we have multiple energy systems integrating together, working as a system to supply energy that is reliable, that is clean to the end users. So because we imagine the energy systems of tomorrow is going to be one that is complex, consists of different sources. In the case of Singapore, for example, it would be with solar, and battery is also a topic that is coming up a lot. How do you integrate solar energy with battery? For example, when you don't have the sun shining, what do you do then? Do you not have energy supply in this case? Then battery would have to come into the picture. And how do you put them together and make sure that they run efficiently, optimally to provide energy to all of us?
Okay, I have a three-pronged question for you. We know that new ideas take time. A, how do you know when an energy solution is ready for the real world? B, how long does it take from conceptualization to execution of such ideas? And C, how does cost play into all of it?
Yeah. So for us to measure the readiness of a solutions, we have a skill, I would say two skills, in fact, the technological readiness level and also the market readiness level to measure whether or not a solution is ready to be pushed to the market. So earlier on, when I said that the challenge of the energy landscape today, it's not so much about technology. I think a lot of technologies is available at a relatively good maturity. Let's say the readiness level at 6, 7, which means they have been tested in control environment, in operating environment, but they are not yet at the maturity where it can be deployed at a commercial scale. So this is when we, as a research center, a corporate research center especially, our job is slightly different from the traditional R&D centers where they are perhaps more focusing on fundamental scientific research. On our side, our job is to look at how we can bring the solutions that is not yet at commercial readiness level to push them closer to that end so that we can integrate them into the business offers that we do. So we do things, for example, running pilots, testings, either in control environment or in one of our operating sites to know how it is operating, what are the risks, what are the constraints, what are the limitations that it could pose to the energy systems that we are working on.
So, AI has been dominating headlines lately, especially with tools like ChatGPT and other Gen AI tools making waves. But it's also making moves in energy. So what are some exciting ways AI is being used to optimize energy use and drive sustainability?
In the energy applications, in the case of ENGIE Lab Singapore in our project, for example, we are using AI to enhance the way that we will deal with the vast amount of data that we are collecting from all our assets every day. We are doing that already, but the volume is huge, and to extract value out of this data is not a very easy task if we were to do it without AI. So I would say the value that is giving us today is to enhance that process, giving us more value out of the energy data that we are collecting, how it can help us to better predict the energy consumption from the clients. And on the other hand, we can better manage the supply that we are giving to the clients and help to reduce waste, reduce early investments and also, in the end, lowering costs for the clients.
Okay, I want to shift gears entirely, but it's not too far removed from what we're talking about, what you guys do. The Trump tariffs, have they impacted ENGIE Lab at all? And if so, how?
Yeah, I think as a research, we are not directly impacted by the tariff at the moment, but more from the business perspective, I think the US market is a big market that ENGIE is already having a lot of activities at, and we also have a great pipelines in terms of investments that goes into renewables and battery energy storage systems for the country. So this uncertainty that is brought up by the President Trump certainly got us on our feet to watch closely what's happening with the country.
Yeah, definitely have to keep a close eye on this one. But let's look at the road ahead. What's your vision for the future of energy here in Singapore? How different do you think our homes, our cities, or even our power bills will look in the next, let's say, 10 years?
Yeah. I think Singapore, the energy landscape of Singapore, I think it's one that is more advanced, I would say the most advanced perhaps in the region. Singapore is actively looking into measures that it would help the country to achieve a decarbonization target, the climate target that it has set out. So I know that Singapore is exploring, besides solar, which is already hugely, massively deployed within the country. But even if we do all that, we will be merely only covering, let's say, around 10% of the needs for the country. Singapore is actively looking into other measures, for example, regional grids, importing renewable from our neighboring countries, as well as technologies such as greener gases with hydrogens, with ammonia as an alternative to the combustion process as a fuel, alternative fuel to the natural gas. And finally, also on carbon capture technology, where we can capture some of these emissions that we are emitting to the environment after industrial process.
Yeah, that's a pretty ambitious vision for the future of energy. But for our listeners, what's one small change they could make today that actually aligns with the work you're doing at ENGIE?
Yeah, I think it takes all of us to make the energy transition to happen. I would say all of us would have to actually reflect on the lifestyle that we are having today, reflect a bit more on how we are consuming today. I think we have the luxury in Singapore to have, I would say, relatively good, affluent lifestyle in Singapore. But there are many other peoples in the world that are struggling to even have access of energy. So I think it's still an issue. And in my ideal vision of the energy world of tomorrow, I think access of energy should be made available to everybody. It's a basic necessity, and it's a necessity for an individual, for an economy and a nation to grow.
Yeah, well, Singapore's energy story may be shaped by its limitations, but as we've heard, it's also driven by ideas and partnerships and persistence. Thank you so much, Yee Wah, for joining us in the studio this morning. It was great having you on the show.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. That was Yee Wah Tang, Managing Director at ENGIE Lab Singapore, and you are listening to Money FM 89.3.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.